Sandra Moss. Drunk and drugged driving affects more than just those involved in the initial accident. Families of loved ones can grow up without knowing a parent or can end up taking care of a sibling who is no longer able to take care of him or herself. Well, here to share their stories of how alcohol has impacted their lives are Cassandra Hopster and Melanie Parham.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. And you both have different stories, but so much in common. Both of you have been involved in treatment through the McAlister Institute because of drug addiction. And alcohol has impacted your life tremendously from family members. Let's start with you, Cassandra, and talk about your father who was killed in a drunk driving accident, and he was behind the wheel.
Yes, I was 3 years old when my father passed away drinking and driving. And my mother is just, I mean, it's impacted my family a crazy amount. My mom was 7 months pregnant with my brother when my father passed away. And so he was kind of, you know, caretaking. And she, instead of turning to addiction, she went to nursing school. She's a registered nurse. She had me and my sister, plus now my little brother.
And they say that addiction is hereditary. There's a strong genetic component to it. And even though you lost your dad to alcoholism, you turned to drugs and you became an addict. How did that happen?
You know, they say it's who you hang out with and associate with, and that has to be, I'm not blaming my addiction on anybody else, but it is when I kind of started dating someone when I became addicted and a little codependent.
What was your drug of choice?
Heroin.
Heroin.
Yes.
And that's a very tough drug to kick. What did you do and how did you kick it?
Well, unfortunately, I kicked it in jail, and I love recovery now, though. It's something I would never go back to. I just didn't realize for 7 years the strain I was putting on my mother and my family.
So you were addicted to heroin for 7 years?
Yes.
Wow. Well, let's talk about your story, Melanie. You are caring for a sister.
I was caring for my sister.
Was caring for your sister. Tell us her story.
She was drinking and driving as well as doing drugs, and she fell asleep behind the wheel of a... And it left her paralyzed from the neck down. She was at that time a single mother of two, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. And my mother took on the role of her, you know, caregiver, 24-hour care, because, I mean, to this day, all she can do is move her shoulders up and down and her neck back and forth. She is a miracle, and she knows what she did. And outside of hurting herself, the blessing of nobody else being harmed in the accident, you know, that was a blessing because it was just her that got hurt.
She paid a high price.
She did pay a very high price. Yeah, she was 22 at the time of her accident, and me and my mom passed away caring for her, and I took on that role that my mom, you know, I filled my mom's shoes, which was a big role to play. Like my sister, it's a lot of work, and to care for her, and she knows what she did, and she lives with it every day. And we tried it a while ago. All she wanted to do was die behind it. Like, I don't want to live, I don't want to live. But she's she can speak for what she did, and she can be a role model in making better choices.
And you also turned to drugs, Melanie,
yes,
after this happened. Was that kind of to anesthetize yourself to the trauma?
We have a family of addicts. We are a family of addicts and alcoholics. And I'm not sure quite why I turned to it, except that that's what I knew to do best. As of now, like, I'm choosing to make a better choice for myself and my children. I'm, as you know, at Kiva, and it's a blessing in disguise.
Kiva is a program within the McAlister Institute. I should point out both of you are clean and sober right now, and have gone through the Institute and some of the programs. So what was it that helped you? What was your drug of choice?
Marijuana and crystal.
Okay. How long did it take you to kick it, and what was the defining factor that made you realize that you had to get control?
Well, taking care of my sister and my two nieces and my daughter, I was overwhelmed, and I turned to drugs. I recently got arrested for the first time in my life with the federal government, and so which is a big deal, and that was an eye opener. So it was a blessing in disguise at the end of the day. I'm court ordered to a rehabilitation center. Instead of doing so much jail time that they could have given me, the judge took into consideration that I had a drug problem, and I instead of putting me in jail for what could have been 10 years, he gave me a couple months in jail, and he put me in a program. So,
a second chance.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about the program. What is it like to be in a residential program? How long were you there for, and what was the biggest thing that helped you succeed?
Well, I've been there a little over a month now, and at first it seems like, coming from the life we were living, it seemed like a lot of structure, but everything now makes sense. The rules make sense, and there's about 100 of us girls there, so there's times when it could be a little much, but it's awesome.
Is it counseling? Is it like, what kind of therapy do you receive?
We have counseling with our caseload, our case manager. We have several different groups all day that help us with all parts of addiction and effects.
In these programs, they say that oftentimes the first time is not successful. People fall back and come back and have to regroup. Are there a lot of girls, a lot of women in there that this is not their first go round in the treatment center?
I was in Kiva in '09. I completed it, and I did very well, but obviously I fell backwards. So a lot of times, most of the women there have been there maybe 1, 2, even 3 times, and sometimes it takes that many times to get it because we're just not ready.
You both lived in San Diego County a while. I'm assuming you grew up here. How would you say it's so easy to get drugs anytime, anywhere in San Diego?
Anywhere.
Yeah. Just
anywhere.
No problem.
It even gets brought in, women come in not ready, and unfortunately things happen where they walk out mad about us, because we're structured from 6:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night. We're in structure, so we have to go to breakfast, we have to go to lunch, dinner, we have groups, and some people walk out mad about certain things, and we lose sisters that don't come back, like they die.
What would you say to teenagers that are watching, or maybe parents or grandparents that are watching, that know that their kids need help, or adults that are out there that need help? What's your message to them?
It's hard to say, because I feel like it's something you need to want, but just watch the people you hang out with, because if you are hanging around with people that you know are doing the wrong things, it might seem cool and fine, but it really will just have a negative effect on your life.
Melanie?
I say be open with your children. Talk openly about drugs and alcohol. Don't be afraid. I mean, because it's out there. Not only is the drugs and alcohol out there, we have the prescription pills that our kids have to be worried about now, and which is one of a bad epidemic as well. And just be open and honest and talk with your kids. Notice their behaviors. I chose to allow my daughter to be home and her friends come to the house, so I knew who she was hanging out with. I could weed out the bad, and I didn't have a problem with having a house full of teenagers, because I was aware of what was going on. And I mean, don't be naive. It's everywhere.
Well, for sharing your stories, Cassandra Hopster, Melanie Parham, and continued sobriety to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.